Marty Untch, M.A. Untch Enterprises Incorporated, General Contractors. Before I begin, I think most of you know me, but I should qualify myself and my credentials so that maybe what I say has a little more power and meaning behind it. I started as an apprentice carpenter 44 years ago. I'm still doing carpenter work today. I did it all day yesterday, and as soon as I leave this meeting, I'll be performing carpenter work all day today. I started my company in 1983, that's probably, 33 years ago. Primarily commercial general contractors. We spent 10 years as U.S. federal contractors building postal facilities, built a lot of high-end custom design build residential homes. So I'm a tradesman. I'm also an equipment operator. I've done my share of concrete masonry work. This has been my whole life. So that being said, what I want to talk about today is a little bit different. It doesn't have much to do with my company individually. That'll come later, maybe in another talk. But first off, the demand for new construction has been increasing dramatically over the past 4 years, to the point of heading toward another market boom at a very rapid pace. This is primarily due to the rapid recovery of pre-existing home values. When these older pre-existing homes hit a certain high, the market shifts toward new construction. And the theory behind that shift is that a new home, boy, I should have brought my glasses. That's why I don't want to be on live podcast.
Can't read your own writing.
Well, yeah, I had to scratch it down at 5 o'clock this morning.
You want to borrow my readers?
Hey, that'd be wonderful. Hey, that's pretty cool.
They look good too.
Okay, we're waiting.
I know. I can read it now. Okay, the theory behind that market shift is that a new home versus a 30 to 4-year-old home will be constructed to all the new wind and hurricane energy codes and shouldn't have any major maintenance issues for at least 20 years. Plus, insurance premiums, as Ashley could well tell you, on a new home are thousands of dollars less than a pre-existing 30 or 40-year-old home. Another thing to note, maybe you received the same document, that do you remember the Biggers Waters Act with the FEMA flood regulations, where Biggers and Waters decided to balance FEMA's budget real quickly, and it was going to triple or quadruple all the flood insurance premiums, especially on the pre-firm homes, anything built prior to 1980s. Well, that raised such a big problem in the real estate industry that they gave a reprieve, a 2-year reprieve. They didn't cancel the bill. It was a 2-year reprieve. That reprieve is now ended. Now, nothing has moved to increase those rates. However, they can. Today, tomorrow, at any time. So, we've got that stress and pressure on the pre-existing home market, that any of those homes in the floodplain, and you'll have to make note of this to your sellers, at some point their flood insurance premiums could double overnight. So, good theory that building a new home is much better than a pre-existing home as the price margins get closer. Only problem is, this is Florida. And Florida, being Florida, and our demographic location being in the hurricane zone, tropical storm zone, flood zone, puts many challenges and pressures on builders. Therefore, the method of construction and the products we use are very expensive. The energy codes, because of the high heat and humidity that we have that took place a year ago, July, even compounded those pressures and challenges, and that went in last July to where we had to even use more expensive products and methods to comply with those energy codes. We have a tremendous population of baby boomers that thousands each year are entering into retirement. And guess what? They want to shift their life to a warm climate. So we have a tremendous growth in population in Florida as compared to most other areas of the country. So to provide for those increases of population, the localities in Florida are trying to balance the roads, schools, fire stations, sewer, water, utilities. How can we handle that kind of an influx of population with the existing facilities? We can't. They all have to grow as well. Therefore, the localities have put on huge impact fees. So now we've got stresses and pressures of products and methods in construction. Now we've got permitting and impact fees. Just think about this for a minute. In the construction of a new home, the first section on my takeoff sheets and my cost itemization sheets are what we call indirect costs or soft costs. And that means those are costs that have absolutely nothing to do with the brick and mortar construction of a home. So prior to taking a shovel full of dirt out of your lot to build your house, you've got plan, design, and engineering, which is pretty huge because everything has to be designed, stamped, and approved for the hurricane zones, high velocity winds, flood regulations, energy calculations that have to be, that's another engineering that has to accompany the plan design, truss engineering because of those wind loads, that has to be a part of this. Permit and impact fees, which are huge. Utility tap fees, they're ever increasing because utilities have to be increasing to keep up with the influx of new people. Surveys. When we're building a new home, we've got 4 surveys that have to be performed throughout the construction of that home to make sure you're within the guidelines of the property, to make sure you're at the proper elevation. For your flood insurance certificates, it goes on. 4 times you have to have a surveyor out. Soil compaction testing and engineering, because we're building to flood elevation. In most cases, if we're in a flood zone, we're building 2 or 3 feet above existing soils. Everything you place has to be tested. That's another geoengineers have to come in and do that. We got to get builder's risk insurance. Do you have any idea these soft costs, indirect costs of new construction today are between $20,000 and $25,000? Thus, the first item on a cost itemization is $20,000 to $25,000. I haven't even started to build a house yet. Another major challenge that the contractors are facing is industry greed, quite frankly. Inflationary pressures, tremendous. We've got unbelievable rising costs of concrete masonry products every 6 months. July and January. Concrete goes up $8 to $9 a cubic yard. Masonry products go up 10% across the board. Now, you gotta wonder, how does this happen? Fuel, oil is cheap. We got the cheapest oil we've had in 30 years. It's not the cost of running the trucks. Strictly greed because they can. There's a high demand for the product and they keep increasing the prices across the board. Drywall, insulation, vinyl products. Every week I get a letter of price increases. A contractor has tremendous inflationary stresses. Steel, that went up about 40% a month ago. A lot of rebar in the house. Now, all the subcontractors have turned around and jumped in because they can, and because there's a lack of construction workers that are skilled. We don't have enough. Everybody's working hard. They figure, hey, I need more money. I'm putting in all these hours, short-handed. I'm going to work longer. So the subcon. To build a house today and put a fixed contract price on it, if you don't account for these quick and immediate increases, and we are seeing it right now, we're seeing a lot of builders. They're not builders. They're wannabe builders. They have sprung up everywhere because of the construction business, but we've got builders in financial trouble in a good market. It's because they didn't allow for all these things. Now, these pressures placed on the building industry reflect constant price adjustments in what we're doing every day. And due to that, most of the contractors, most of the contractors today spend most of their time in trying to figure out how to cut costs. Now, you can't cut the indirect costs. It's impossible. Those are fixed. You can't cut the masonry cost, the material cost, the cost of the window. You can't cut that. So guess what? And that's going to be the subject to come of my next talk, because I only have 2 minutes left. And I could speak all day on this. How the builders are cutting costs. How the quality of homes today that are cut. You know, when I said a new home should last 20 years before you have to replace the roof or the AC unit or even ever worry about the windows, not true. What they're producing today, you may get 5 years out of if you're lucky. You're lucky most of these products aren't done by the end of the 2-year or 1-year warranty period. So, it's very alarming. The next talk will really wake you up. Thank you very much.